You're listening to Anibros, episode number 93. This week, the P. Rizzler makes his reappearance as a game show host extraordinaire and challenges the bros to sort truth from fiction in a deadly contest to the death. So get ready for no one to actually die because the Anibros is starting now.
On tonight's show of 2 truths and 1 anime. Well, actually, no, it'd be 2 animes and 1 not anime. One thing I just made up. Anywho, on our show today, we have the 2 Anibros, Jack and Laven. Thank you for both coming to the show, lads.
It's great to be here.
It is my pleasure.
I'm assuming you both know the rules.
Why don't you, I know the rules, but why don't you go ahead and explain to my friend here?
I'm going to describe to you 3 anime. 2 of them are real. I watched the first episode. I'm just telling you what's what. And one of them I sort of made up. Like, it's similar, but I made it up. And at the end of the 3, you two both, you guess which is which. And you get it right, you get a point. You don't get a point. And then there's a special prize at the end.
Oh, great.
I'm excited, Bob.
That's the one thing I wanted to know. What's your name?
I guess it's Bob now.
Okay, great. Great to be here, Bob.
All right. Category 1, for a new generation. Let me just get a sip of beer before we
Do I
get
need a
going.
buzzer? When do I buzz in? Now?
No,
about now?
no buzzing.
Okay.
All right. Our first one is Hukago no Pleiadians, also known as Wish Upon the Pleiadians.
Are you sure it's not Pleiades?
Sure. Does Pleiades mean something?
Isn't it a constellation?
Pleiades?
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
My constellation knowledge is lacking.
Patrick, Bob, you say you didn't get out there with the...
Can I just say a little echo right here? But
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of echo. I don't have carpets on my walls like some people's dads.
This is the $400 recording studio, not the $4,000 recording studio.
I need you all to whisper into your mic.
You got to really know what you're getting into.
all right, shut up. All right, so we're starting off frame 0. I'm sorry, frame 1. It shows up and it says our anime by Subaru and Gynex, and I'm like, holy cow, Subaru, the car company. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is what I'm thinking. Okay, we're going to have some anime where the main character lives in a dystopian future and finds out that the new 2015 Sport Limited Subaru Impreza, with its superior handling and impressive fuel economy of 37 miles per gallon, the main character will have no troubles in defeating any of the enemies. This is what I'm expecting, because why else would you pay someone to put your freaking logo on there?
Obviously.
Well, apparently it was so that people would go and do a search and replace of the main character's name to Subaru. And that was it. There is no other relationship in the anime. And I'm like, hey, is a girl's name Subaru?
Is it?
Like, let's say it is.
I don't know, Patrick.
I'm just thinking, like, okay, I guess that's what you pay money for these days. It's just like,
Naming rights,
hey,
that's right.
change the main character. Does this have anything to do with cars? No.
Is it a high school girl?
Yeah, how'd you know? It's actually her first day of high school, to be more specific.
Was she going to make some new friends? And
She's hoping for it.
Is it at least driving high school? Is there any
No,
car? Auto?
no, she walks.
Oh.
I saw
Will she get her car,
a
though?
bus drive by, and I
Was
think
it a Subaru bus? Do they make bus?
no.
Does Fuji Heavy Industries build schools?
So basically, this anime was made when someone said, "You know what we haven't had in a while? A Sailor Moon knockoff. What do you say, lads?" And then, but this time we'll have it hand tailored for a new generation. That's just what these people needed. And with some money from Subaru, they did a little search and replace. And so now the main character, her name is Subaru. Starts out with dopey girl named Subaru looking through her little telescope. And she sees this particularly odd-looking shooting star. And she wishes that someday she could fly amongst the stars. And suddenly a burst of light comes down and surrounds her. And after waking up, she looks around and what just happened? Oh, well, I'm sure I'll find out later. So we meet up with the main character, and she's walking, starting first day of high school. I'm sure you two remember that first day.
I
I
remember.
relive it every night.
And just in case you weren't sure if this was a Sailor Moon knockoff, she literally has a quote where she's like, I chose this high school because it was the only one with the cute Sailor Moon uniforms that I like. And
She says Sailor Moon.
She says the translation says Sailor Moon directly. All right. And I'm like hitting a little hard on the nose, people. All right. So she's at high school and she's looking for her little, there's an astronomy club poster. And she's like, I guess I'll go and join the astronomy club because she's a weird kid. And so she's heading up to the observatory and she opens the door and it's like a magic door. No,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a regular door. But
like, have you the Narnia where you open the door, but you aren't in the closet, you're in Narnia, and then you close it and you open it up and you're in the cloak? It's like that.
like a hickory door.
And so she walks into the astronomy club, but it's like a green room, full of plants and a sick boy. And
Just one.
anywho, he's probably going to be the main love interest, and he's just always coughing and oh, look at this wondrous butterfly coming down. And it's like, okay, sicko. I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean, he's literally sick. Anywho, he's kind of like the Charlie from Charlie's Angels, where he sends off the various girls to stop the bad characters. So at this point, 4 Sailor Moon-looking girls arrive, and they've just come from a battle half finished, and they're all like, oh no, how did she get in here? But at that moment, one of the talking hats goes up and announces that, did I not mention the talking hats? All the female characters, they get their own little talking hat. And they transform from their regular schoolgirl outfit into a
giant hat?
into a magic girl outfit. And then they go into space and they fight. There's this other girl who also has a magic hat, but I'm guessing it's like a bad hat that grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, is always trying to do wrong or something.
It's a bad hat.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. So the question is, will the Sailor Moon gang be able to defeat the bad character? Will she be able to balance high school and her club activities? Find out on the next episode of Wish Upon the Pleiades. So that's anime number 1. Keep in your mind whether you think it's straight up legit or, there's a little funny sauce added to the mix,
Well, it's some sauce.
It's going to be a hard game.
All right, next one. Dempa Kushi.
What?
That's probably
And
how to
it
pronounce
means ultimate otaku teacher.
Okay.
All right. So they must have been thinking to themselves, you know what we haven't had recently? That great teacher Onazukai GTO anime. We haven't had a good knockoff of that in a while.
We haven't.
What do you say we make ourselves a ultimate otaku teacher and just kind of updated for the modern generation?
Sure.
And so in this one, we have our main character, and he's a feller. He's smart, but he watches anime and anime-related things all day. He doesn't really leave and do other things for the most part. He's just kind of there. And his younger sister is pissed off that her brother isn't doing jack. And so she will enter her brother's room, kind of anime survival bunker looking thing, with a baseball bat and a short skirt and a whole lot of anger. And so the first episode, he's just like, and she's like, I'm swinging at you. And I'm like, holy cow. And so she tells him hey, you go to this school, I got you a job as a teacher. And you're like, oh, okay. So he shows up, and the principal is like, he's a smart kid, he wrote a few good papers, you can be a teacher here. And yeah, I guess that was the job interview. So he runs out and he hears some girl singing one of those the anime tunes that at the beginning of the anime.
Sure.
She's belting it out, and he's like, "Hey, you're doing a good job." And probably insults her, and she punches him. I don't know. Anywho, later in class,
He just forgot what happened. You're like, oh, I just
He's
dozed
like,
off for a
"All
second
right,
there, and then I woke
everybody."
up and they're in class.
so you get the feeling he's a schmuck of an otaku, but he's also, I don't know, he's got like he's smart, and he does things that, it turns out, like the first class, he's like, everyone download this game and play it. But secretly he's watching, and the way you play it is how you can figure out everyone's personalities, essentially.
Somebody I can really insert myself into.
And he notices the main girl, the one singer girl, she's kind of being bullied a little bit by these other girls. So the main character, she's walking home one day, and this fat guy comes up and just like grabs her from behind and says, all right, so you let me touch you for 5,000 yen? And then the great otaku teacher, he comes up with a trash can, hits him on the head. She's like, let's run. He's like, yeah, your friends there, they posted a fake profile of you on this site saying that you were, I don't know, willing to do things for 5,000 yen.
Only if people run up behind you and grab you.
He grabbed him in a bear hug manner.
And she's like, oh, don't worry. When I was just a lass, I saw a post when I was at my lowest, and it said, hey, if there aren't any heroes around, you should be a hero. And so I'm going to be a hero and solve this. And he said, screw that. I'm going to solve it. And so he goes down to the local 7-Eleven where all the cool kids are hanging out.
All of them.
And so the three girls are there. And what do you know? He gets up on the roof and he dumps some flour on them.
Sure.
And so they're all coughing away. And then he's up. Oh, I know. It was ground up chalk dust.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah. Because they tricked the girl into drinking chalk dust earlier in the episode, and it hurt her voice.
Yeah, that's poison.
Pure poison.
And so he's up there laughing away, and they're like, what are you doing up there, teacher? And he's like, I posted profiles of you and all your information on this website, and now you'll be destroyed. And they're like, well, that's messed up. But then it turns out he didn't. He made the site, and he was like, hey, don't do that again. And they all like, all right, we won't. And so, yeah, problem solved.
Problem solved.
Yeah. So, questions to be asked. Will he be able to teach these kids with his odd teaching style and, maybe get a glance or two from some of the younger ladies, and, who knows? Find out next episode of Ultimate Otaku Teacher.
Interesting.
A little crazy sauce, or you think it's just crazy enough it might be true?
I am going to withhold judgment until I hear all three of these.
All right. Third anime. Shokugeki no Suma.
Mm-hmm.
Also known as Food Wars. Mm-hmm. You both heard of this one?
I've heard of this one.
Food Wars, yeah.
This is the title.
Someone must have been thinking to themselves, you know what we haven't had in a while? Gourmet Girl Graffiti kind of knockoff anime. And I gotta say, that's pretty ballsy, because that Girls Gourmet Graffiti came out like
last season.
Yeah. And but we're going to make it hand tailored for the new generation.
Sure.
If any of you are wondering what Gourmet Girl Graffiti is, on episode 87 of the Anibros podcast, Anime Podcasting Done Right, you can see our full review. So the anime starts off small restaurant, father and son type deal. And they're both chefs, and they're preparing up some rice. And it's like a cooking competition betwixt the two. And so they got this girl sitting there. And you kind of get the feeling she's like the quiet girl in the front who's, I don't know, former neighbor and love interest, but the main character won't wind up with her is what I'm guessing. I've seen a lot of anime. They're all exactly the same. Anywho, so they're cooking up their rice, and she goes to eat it, and she's going into this like orgasmic experience, and it's just like hypersexualized. And then everyone else in the restaurant are like, I want some rice. And then, they're eating it. And they're all having their own orgasmic.
I'll have what she's having.
So at the end, she's like, they were both just so good, but I'm going to have to go with this one. And the dad's like, yeah, suck it, son, I win again. And I'm like, talk about a bad sport. So yeah, he won and made better bowl of rice. So the son and they're closing up shop, and in walks a very voluptuous woman, and she's got some kind of what's the Japanese mafia?
Yakuza.
Yeah, she's got some Yakuza types behind her. And she goes and like, yeah, good looking restaurant. Be a shame if something happened to it, And hey, I know. What do you say? You sell it to me, and I build a nice little high rise. And then the son's like, yeah, screw you. We like this place way it is, And she's like, yeah, but what if something were to happen that you weren't able to sell, your customers what they wanted? And he's like, what are you talking about? We got plenty of stuff. Screw off, And she's like, all right. And then the next day he walks in, and you won't believe this. Someone's come into the restaurant and just like effed everything up. They just like cut open all the meat. It's all gone.
I don't believe it.
And then she just shows up and is like, all right, I want you to make me some really nice meat related thing, and if you don't, you have to give me the restaurant for some reason. And he just is like, all right, and he just goes into like Iron Chef cooking mode and whips something up, and she's like, what is that? And she takes a slice and just like, everyone's just mind explodes. Their clothes come off. They're just like, it's just the greatest thing ever made. Okay, you win, I guess. And so he's like, yeah, I'm a great chef. We're going to make a great team, Pops. And then Pops comes in and is like, yeah, I sold the place. And he's like, okay, no, I don't think he sold it. He's like, a friend called me up and wanted some help, so I'm going to go help him for a while. I'll send you some money from time to time. It's like, the son isn't invited to come along. Oh, okay. And he's like, but hey, son, I'm going to send you to the best dang cooking school Japan has, because he's about to go in high school as well. Seems to be a common theme in anime.
Of course. Okay.
The greatest cooking school in like Japan, but only 10% enter. And you see like a scene from it, and the teacher, who she's actually a rather voluptuous lady, to tell you the truth, and she's just like yelling at people and like, this soup isn't brothy enough, and everyone's running out of there crying and such. And it's like, will he be able to make it in this sucker? Will the boy be able to hack it? Will he be able to get along with the love interest / teacher? Find out on the next episode of Food Wars.
And then I realized it was a hentai.
All right, lads. So we got our 3 anime.
Okay.
We got the girls who are magical, and what was that called? Wish Upon the Pleiades. We got Utaku Teacher Boy and his various
Scallywag crew.
girls he has to teach, including his younger sister. And we have Food Wars.
Now we have to guess which description you gave.
Which one was incorrect and which one was right on the mark. 2 were right on the mark. Which was a lie? Which were the truths?
Okay.
Jacko?
Okay. So the Wish Upon a Star, right up, I think that one's the craziest, and my gut instinct is that's the lie. But so much of it sounds like it's real. Like, how much of it, are you allowed to say how much of it is real? Is all of it fake?
No, not all of it. I'd say like a third or...
Did you watch the episode at all?
After, I would watch the first like 5 or so minutes, write a review, and then afterwards I watch the whole thing to see if how close I was.
Okay, so you did watch the first episode of all of these, and one is a lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you afterwards, like, what actually happened in the anime.
Okay. Yeah, Wish Upon a Star is just ridiculous.
Is that the first one?
Yeah, with the talking hat and like the Nora to Narnia and the Sailor Moon.
Well, it wasn't actually Narnia. She just opened a door, and it was like a green
Superhero
room.
club
But,
room,
you know,
yeah.
you come back later and open the door, it's just a regular door. It wasn't, yeah.
And then
It's tough.
Otaku no Teacher was...
I feel like they
That
all
was
could
the
have been.
most generic one.
I feel like they all could have been slightly real with slightly fake stuff
They
spiced
all
in.
sound real. They all sound
I'm sure
real.
I probably, like, just from memory, kind of threw some crazy in there.
Yeah,
but-
that's why I kind of leaning toward one of them because I think like
All right.
it sounds more like a Patrick.
Okay,
made
What
up.
about you, Laban? What are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning toward the first one.
First one. So
Subaru
you're both
McGee.
going for the Wish Upon the Pleiades?
I think so.
Yes.
You're both right.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
All right. What
Good.
actually happened in that?
I knew it. I was like the other two, specifically Patrick, like said something and then went, "Oh, actually, no, never mind. It was like this on two, but not the first one." So that's why I was like, "All right."
Well, he kind of did that in the first one. I was like, oh, did I not mention the
Okay.
hat?
So there wasn't a talking hat, but there was a talking
Ferret,
kind of gummy
gumball machine.
octopus
Oh,
that could kind of fly around and such.
Were they really superheroes?
Yeah. All that was pretty spot on.
Oh.
the only thing that was different was literally the talking hats.
The boy she went and talked to, he wasn't.
It was a girl.
He actually turned out to be I think he's going to be kind of the secret bad character and love interest. He wasn't the Charlie of Charlie's Angels.
There was a
as I
sick boy in a
described him.
plant room, though.
Yeah, there was a sick boy.
Was
in
there
the
a bad
plant room.
hat?
Well, how much of it did you make up then?
All the Mad Hatter stuff, the whole beginning part where a magic light came and surrounded her. She just straight up wandered into a room, and I guess that's good enough to become a magic girl.
Oh, yeah. Your version made it better.
Patrick's like, well, in this version, it was a red room, and in my version, it was a blue room. So that was the
sure
fake.
there were a few other differences I forgot.
I specifically said it was fake because it was red. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
How many of these did you watch?
Enough.
How many rounds do we have?
Well, we'll see how much time we have. That's
All right.
probably how we'll do
Let's
it.
do round two. Possibly the final round.
Owari no Seraph, also known as Seraph of the End. On a crowded street in Japan, happy couples are walking to and fro.
Ah, that's the fake one.
When suddenly, one of the happy characters, it's just the woman. She's like, "What's going on here? Where's her man?" She looks beside her. Oh, he's down on the ground coughing. Well, what is it? Is he getting the allergies like you two?
Does he have the
And
black lung pop?
Would you recommend Benadryl for him? But it turns out everyone starts getting sick and coughing up blood and dying instantly. And I mean like everyone. And so you see these like young children running through the streets with like dogs barking, just dead bodies, and like some guy walks up like, "Help me," and then he just dies, and you're like, oh, that's one way to start off an anime. And so they all go into their like preschool room type thing, and it turns out vampires.
Oh. I was so happy and excited. I was like, I hope this isn't the fake one. I might watch this show. But then, no.
Okay, so, well, just hold on here. So vampires show up. I think they've, like, taken over Japan and renamed it, Sector 23. And
Area 11.
and they're like, oh, yeah, a virus killed everyone over 13 or something, so now you gotta come back with us to Transylvania. And you're like, what? This was like the first 2 minutes of the anime. And then they're just like, 4 years later. And you just see kids walking around in Transylvania. And they all go up to the main, like, bloodletting room where you just kind of take a nice nap. And you get a little puncture in the old vein. And the little blood gets siphoned off every night. And
Yeah, like how it goes.
yeah, kind of Matrixy, you
Yeah,
know?
sure.
And this is in Transylvania, not Japan?
No, it's in Transylvania.
Okay.
They don't do crazy things like this in Japan, Jack. This is Transylvania.
Anywho, we have our main character. He's kind of hard-nosed character, not too bright, but he's a fighter.
He's a fighter.
And you got his kind of submissive friend, and I call him that because one of the more senior vampires, he's kind of strutting through, and he looks over there and he's like, "Hey, little boy, how you doing?" He's little boy, "Oh, I'm doing great." He's like, "Hey, well, you say you come over to my house later tonight?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right." He's like, "I love little boy's blood." And you're just like, "Oh, okay." There's a slightly creepy overtone there, but yeah, okay.
You're just drinking each other's blood, Patrick.
Well,
There's nothing sexual
no,
about
he's
it.
not drinking the vampire's blood. The vampire's drinking his blood.
Vice versa. Whatever.
So yeah, they're doing that. Submissive boys over at the vampire's house, and the rest of them, they're all back at some other room, sitting around singing camp songs or whatever it is kids do when they're in Transylvania. And the crazy boy what's his name, shows up and is like, "Hey, I stole a gun and a map. Let's get out of this place." And everyone's like, "Straight up, let's go." And so they're all running. They come to the very last, hallway. And he's like, "We just need to go over there and we'll be home free." And you're like, "Oh, what could go
The
wrong?"
last hallway in Transylvania.
Well, it turns out that bad vampire guy,
Uh-huh.
he knew the whole time that the kid was stealing
Probably gave him the map and the
the
gun.
map. And he's like, "Oh, I just love it every time to see the little ones as they're just so close, yet so far away." So he just starts killing them and just like boom, boom, boom. And then the submissive boy's like, "Don't worry, I'll save you, main character." And he takes the gun and puts it, but then he dies. But then the main character takes the gun and like shoots the vampire. And you're like, why did that not occur earlier? Okay. And then he goes out into the frozen tundra and he sees that there are some people out there that walk up to him and like, "Hey, you're a human. You escaped. That's good. You can come with us and we'll fight some vampires." It's like, "Yeah, sounds good."
The end.
The vampires can die by being shot?
Were they silver bullets?
I don't know. It didn't really say.
Were they garlic bullets?
They didn't just break in and...
It didn't really say.
Were they hex cross bullets?
Didn't really say.
Okay. All right. That's the end of that one?
Yeah.
All right. What was it called? Owari no Seraph?
Seraph of the End.
Sans serif.
All right.
Got it.
All right. That's the next one.
Okay, let me look. Settle down, little ones.
My word. Vampires? An anime not taking place in Japan.
Well, it did for a little while, and then at the
and
end,
they probably come back after
yeah, at
they
the
join
end,
the hunters.
when he leaves Transylvania, he's back in Japan.
They're right next to each other.
Arslan Seki, which translates to the heroic legend of Arslan.
Okay.
Heroic prince, I guess. I don't know.
It's a rough start.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
I want you to say the truth.
All right, so I got to say, this anime just really starts off on the right foot. We come up, it's kind of like Middle Ages looking battle, and it's just a good looking animation, really top notch. You see thousands of warriors coming into formation, just ready to just go in there and punch someone right in the face. And normally anime, it looks like it was kind of hurriedly drawn, but someone took their time with this sucker.
Oh.
I tip my hat to him. And I also liked in the battle, at no point during it did some like scantily clad maiden come up and hurl her destruction, whatever, and kill 1,000. And no, it's just, there was none of this crazy stuff. It's just like,
Standard.
Here's a European battle scene. People are going and fighting. Eventually, this side wins.
Watch enough anime, you might run into a good one every once in a while.
I watch a lot of anime, and rarely do I come across.
That's what I'm saying. You watch 1,000, 2,000 anime, you might come across one good anime.
Is that what you're saying? All right. All right. So we jump ahead, and we're in the capital of Parsia, which isn't Persia. I mean, because that'd be lazy. And we witness the young prince training alongside his aged master. And instantly I think to myself, certainly hope the prince doesn't fall into a wicked plot where the uncle tries to take the throne by killing the king. And, he's the prince, so they're going to kill him, but he gets away. But then at the last second, the aged mentor saves him. But then I certainly hope that doesn't happen because it's like 4 minutes in and I just freaking predicted that. So let's find out what happens. Anywho, the prince, he goes up on the balcony and he's alongside his large-breasted mother who's giving a speech to rally the troops, and he kind of goes up and is like, "Hey, Ma, how's it going?" She's just like, "Screw off, kid." And then later the king returns from the battle from the beginning of the episode, and everyone's happy, and the prince goes up and he's like, "Hey, Pops, what's it?" And he's like, "Screw off, kid." I mean, they don't like him. And I can understand. He's a bit of a schmuck, but he's also like 13 or something. So, what can you do? Great banquet starts up. Everyone's there. You got some jugglers. You got your minstrels. You just, drinking and having fun.
Merriment.
Anywho, you got the king's brother, and he's, telling the king, Prince, he's a bit of a schmuck. What do you say? The next battle, I take him out with us. We show him the ropes, toughen the guy up. And the king's like, yeah, let's do that. That doesn't sound suspicious. Also at the banquet, we meet the young mentor for the prince, which I just like to say the young mentor's character was clearly stolen from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Anyone who watched that, you look for the Crimson Alchemist, who you will remember as Sergeant Kimberly from the Ishbalan War.
I remember.
Same freaking, exactly the same.
Yeah.
I don't mean similar, the same character design. Go and look it up, chumps. And when I say Kimberly, that's not to be mixed up with the Kimberley mines in South Africa, Cecil Rhodes speaking. Well, I'll explain that to you later. So we're at the battle 2 of this great war, and just, I don't know, everything starts to go wrong. Because they're doing this move where they're going to have the king's brother come in with a lot of army guys, like at a certain point, and he just doesn't show up. And you're like, what's going on? Everyone's dying. And then it turns out the king's brother actually wanted the king and the prince to die so that he could become king. I mean, get the whole kingdom and that sweet mom of
that doesn't
the
happen.
Prince just all to himself.
It's that easy.
So you're thinking to yourself, well, the prince is about to die. But then it turns out the old mentor actually comes in at the last moment, steals him away, and he's kind of sitting there, and he's like, "I'm going to fight off these bad guys. You run." And the boy's like, I can't run. It's like, "Well, you need to run." And then he finally runs away. And so he and the young mentor, they're out there, their kingdom's destroyed, and he's like, "Well, only one thing left to do. We've got to travel land, find some misfit characters to join our little traveling band, and kill the bad uncle of yours." Yeah, so that was that anime.
Okay.
Heroic Legend of Arslan.
Setting it up.
There are no questions?
Well, we got one more.
So. Well, no,
what are you feeling on that one? You feeling good? Are you feeling kind of, okay, great. That's good to hear.
All right.
You give me the same freaking thing every time.
You were supposed to say something like,
what?
Is he going to go with his band of
No,
merry
I was
men?
only doing that on the first ones. What, do you expect me to do that on everyone?
Yes.
Well, kids, if you like, kids fighting and that gets all your chestnuts roasted, then you'll just love this anime.
Yay! Thanks, Pat. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm in good spirits now.
Gunslinger Stratos, the animation, not to be mixed up with some other kind of Gunslinger Stratos.
Is it based off a game?
I don't know.
Probably.
Share a game.
The live action?
The live action. The poetry jam. I don't know.
The epic.
Anywho, so young boys waiting in the subway station, going on the way to school, and then he can see from a map on the wall that Japan, it's been cut up into districts by possibly some foreign power. And some,
or Subway.
some pretty girl with some pink hair is just like, hey, main character, look over here. And he's like, oh, hey, future love interest, how's everything going? I'm like, whatever. Anywho, so they're at school, and then it turns out pink hair girl, her brother is really protective, and I don't know, there seem to be a little incestuous intentions going on there.
No, that could be.
I'm just throwing out
that wouldn't happen in anime.
And so the brother, he has like a little sidekick girl who is kind of follows him around and is just like, good one, sir, you got it, and you're like, what's she doing here? So they're all in class, and it's kind of, if you've seen Hunger Games in the Capitol, they got really crazy hairdos and such. It's kind of got that vibe to it, and they're like, tell us the 10 rules of something. I wasn't really listening to that part. So then the next thing, they're going off to PE.
Sure.
And
you gotta get physically fit.
Yeah. So they all are entering the paintball
Olympics.
room.
Oh.
And they're given their paintball guns and their lightsabers. And
Sure.
It's all the girls over here, all the boys over here, and they're fighting each other.
The girls have
No, it's like the girls will have one champ, the boys will have one champ.
But do they both have the paintball guns and lightsabers?
Yeah, they both got that.
Okay.
And so the brother really wants to beat up the main character because, the brother's sister has, sweet eyes for him. And the sidekick girl also wants to beat up the sister because she probably likes the brother who likes the sister. All right, you follow me so far?
Of course, yes.
Classic love triangle.
Well, I don't think that's a triangle.
Love parallelogram.
Well, okay, how about this? 2 triangles coming in to each other.
It's a dyed triangle.
Star of David.
You got it.
Yeah, so anywho, they're going away, fighting each other, jumping around, paintballing and slashing at each other. Pink-haired girl wins, brother wins, the other 2 lose.
Game set.
At this point, I don't know what happened. The main character is like, I have this dream of a sister. And which also I have to say, the character for the sister was clearly stolen from Ergo Proxy, the character Pino, the little android-looking girl. Look it up, people. She's the same freaking character.
You'll find happens in a lot of
And
anime.
so he's like, oh, look over there. My sister looks like her. And she's like, you don't have a little sister. And he's like, let's run. And so they start running over and they follow her down some staircase to some kind of deserted little place. And they're like walking along, and I think they fall through the floor and then they start falling through the sky.
Sure.
Because it's kind of like in Futurama, how there's New York and then under it is the like sewers and such, except this is like a world and then under it's another world. And so they're just falling down, both confused, and I'm confused. And then certain characters start fighting, and then they wind up on the ground, and some characters got its paintball gun and they got their paintball guns and they're shooting at each other. And then this is the great part right here. This is the part that just gives you goosebumps,
Sure.
So the pink-haired girl, she's like hanging off the ledge, she's starting to slip. And this mysterious bad character, he's walking up there, And then our main character, he takes out his gun and he's just shaking. And he's like, hey man, put down the gun. All right, I'll shoot. And then the mysterious character, he turns around and it's the main character.
Yeah.
And end of episode.
Okay.
Was that finger licking good?
Was this done in like kind of a cool like art style, or
No.
was it trippy, just kind of generic looking?
Generic looking would be accurate.
This is tough.
Okay, so we got our 3.
Yep.
Go for the throat. That's the category name I gave. I don't know if you care. Seraph of the End. That's
Sans
the one
serif.
with the kids and
Yeah. Font Wars.
the vampires going around killing folk and sucking blood. Heroic Legend of Arslan. That's with the boy prince and the king and the uncle comes and kills folk and what have you. And Gunslinger Stratos, the animation. That's old Paintball McGee and whatnot.
Okay.
So tell me,
This is
what are
tough.
your feelers telling you? What's your gut telling you? When you're like, I don't know about that one.
Well, my gut is with the first one, they leave Japan and they go to another country.
They go to Transylvania.
I think that's just odd for an anime. Usually all animes...
They come back to Japan though.
Yeah.
And he's angrier than ever at those dang vampires.
Yeah. And then the second one was the medieval battle one.
Yeah.
That one sounded pretty straightforward.
Heroic Legend of Arslan.
And then the third one,
Arslan.
I don't know if I'm metagaming this at all, but you were audibly confused by it. So I don't know if you would make up one that
You were
would confuse yourself.
Yeah, I didn't think it's the third one.
If the third one's a fake one, then I'll be super impressed.
Gunslinger Stratos.
I want to say,
animation.
I think it's the second one. I think the fake one is the second one.
I think the fake one is the first one.
So just to be clear, Jack, you're saying
He thinks
vampire,
Seraph of the
Seraph
End.
of the Edge. Laven, you're saying
Game of Thrones, the anime. Yeah.
You're saying the Heroic Legend of Arslan. What do you say? What's you just gut feeling? Or?
Just a gut feeling, just how you presented it and like how...
It was pretty straightforward. You didn't struggle with it at all.
Yeah, and you were really able to recount very specific things about the show. I don't know.
Well, now his presentation aside, did anything about the plot, the writing strike you
Just
as...
strike it.
It seems
Fake.
like you just watched the last episode of Game of Thrones and made up something. So that's basically what I'm
He
going
doesn't
from.
seem very anime-like, not enough high school girls.
Exactly. It's not, and there's like an old mentor. There's never an old mentor in Japanese things. It's not, I don't think it's right.
Okay, good. One of us is going to be wrong.
Yeah. It's probably going to be me.
Laven was right.
Yes!
Oh, what?
Heroic Legend of Arslan. Like I said, I watched the first 5 minutes or so.
So the whole part about the king and doing the battle and the uncle not backing him up was all made up?
Yeah, that was all made up.
It seemed totally like just an American show. Like something that was not Japanese. I was like, no, this wouldn't happen.
In this one, the king comes back and he doesn't give his son the time of day. And they bring back slaves, and there's one slave boy in particular, and our prince is a bit of a chump, and he kind of walks up and is like, "Hey, slave boy, how's things going? Everything's great." And slave boy, he's pissed off, and he's like, "Let's roll." And he's like, "Look out, we're free people. We don't want to be slaves." And he's like, "Come on, man. It's not so bad. We're a powerful country. You're going to be slaves." And he's like, "Hey, how would you like it if you were a slave, man?" And then he juts off. And then it begins at the next battle, which happens like several years later. And you get this feeling from the next episode thing, everyone dies except him. And so basically his whole country is destroyed, and he now might become a slave. And he kind of goes from being the privileged prince, and he has to...
If you would have said that, I would have been like, that's
So he doesn't really have a mentor that looks like the guy from Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah, he definitely has that.
I knew like so many parts were like realistic.
I thought that was a fake part. So
No,
you got me
I
there.
knew that was a real part because I'm like, he wouldn't just like pull that out of nowhere.
I don't know. The old mentor just stuck with me. I was like, I don't think there's an old mentor.
No, that was definitely real.
Well, we got a few more minutes. I say we go to the lightning round.
All
I
right.
give you a description. You just tell me straight up, true or false.
Let's see, the lightning round.
Okay.
Also known as the dregs.
The dregs round.
Dungeon ni di o moru no wa michigaru dokora kya?
Light novel.
Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon?
It is. Done. Oh wait, was that the question?
Yeah, what are you giving us a description, or are we just saying if that's a real anime or not?
No, that's the title of the anime, and now I'm going to give you a description,
Okay.
and then you'll tell me if it's...
Time,
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the summary? That was the entire summary, right?
Is it wrong?
In this tale, a human boy with white hair and creepy red eyes, who kind of looks like a bug, is the main
Sure.
character. And he's in a
Bug
dungeon
man.
being attacked by a large minotaur, which you will remember is the half-man, half-bull creature from the story of Theseus, who uses his ball of twine to enter the great labyrinth on Crete to destroy the Minotaur. Minotaur. Sorry, that has nothing to do with the anime.
No, that's just where a Minotaur comes from.
Yeah. So old Bug Eyes, he's about to die when this beautiful maiden comes up, just kills the old Minotaur. And he's looking up and she's like, "You all right?" And he's just instantly in love. And can I just mention this maiden, sizable breasts.
Now, does she have a string holding up her breast?
No, it's more like a tight dress that goes top to bottom. You see a little side boob. I'll be straight up with you.
Okay.
No cleavage, though. She's classy.
Just side boob.
So he is instantly like, I'm going to devote myself from this moment onward to becoming a great warrior and impressing old Boobs McGee over there. So he's walking down the street and he meets this other female character who describes in lengthy detail the backstory of the anime in a kind of like awkward dialogue that clearly someone's like, I'm too lazy to just get this in naturally. Just spit it into them. All right, so there were some gods and they were bored, so they decided to come down to Earth, but then they can't use their god powers, and then you can like join their group. That's all I got from it.
I was waiting for more, and you're like, that's it.
So Bug Eyes is heading back to HQ, and it turns out the goddess who he's joined up with, he's the only one. She's not doing too swell. And I don't know, she's got some sizable breasts. I'll tell you that right now.
Is she the one with the string?
Yeah, she's got like a bikini thing going on, and I don't. Well, actually, let me look at the picture.
The only thing I know about this show is everyone posts a girl with a blue string that's tied to her arms.
Yeah, she's
I
got
don't
the
think I've
blue
seen this
string.
picture at all.
Yeah.
And it like it's a piece of ribbon. It's
is
tied
ribbon.
to this arm. Tied to this arm, goes underneath her boobs.
Yeah.
So when she like goes and puts her arms up, her boobs go up.
Does it cover her boobs?
No, it's
No,
a string.
it's a string.
A string that goes underneath her boobs.
Wait, is that the only thing she's wearing on her top half?
No, she's wearing like other clothes.
It's just like another accessory. Like
It's
there's
a
piece
pointless
of
accessory.
string.
So it's just like a fake thing.
Yeah.
Something that no one's ever worn before.
Yeah.
No, that does not work in real life.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad we got that discussion.
It's
No,
important.
I thought you were wearing, you're saying she's like just wearing the string. I'm like, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense. Apparently it doesn't make sense in real life either, like even in the context.
All right, so the main character who he's fallen in love with is a warrior who's in another god's entourage. And so Bug Eyes, he's telling the goddess about like, oh, isn't this great? You know, old Boobs McGee, she's great, isn't she? And goddess turns out she likes him, and so she's getting kind of jealous from all this talk. And Boobs McGee, I'm sorry, the goddess. They both have breasts, and I got confused for a second.
That's Boobs McGriff. It's a little different.
So the goddess is like, hey, you can't be going to any more real tough dungeons, all right? You almost got killed there. And so the main character promptly ignores that. And so next day, he's in a cave just waist deep in monsters, and he's fighting away. And what do you know? He's about to die. And the main goddess girl, she comes and saves him, is nursing him back to help, and is like, look, Bug Eyes, how about this?
Like
we pal up, we go into those dungeons, we fight, you know, you'll get stronger, and who knows, maybe you'll fall in love with someone else. But I have a sneaking suspicion, like every episode, a couple more girls are going to be walking along and fall in love with this schmuck. So they're fighting away, and they come across a particularly bad dragon. And they're going away fighting, and what do you know? Bug Eyes is not doing too swell. And he's dying, and he's hurt, and the main goddess is like, come on, let's go. You clearly aren't strong. He says, no, I can do this! And he keeps fighting away, and then finally she is going and kills the monster. It's like, come on now. But then behind her, it comes back up, and he runs over there, and he kills the monster, and she loves him even more. And so they're walking home, and it starts to rain. And he offers his jacket to the goddess. And she's like, oh, you can't offer me a jacket because you'll get a cold. And he's like, hey, it's okay, you know. And then the next morning, he's got a cold. What do you know?
Yeah.
And she's just looking at him, helping out. And she looks back and she says, baka. And then the episode ends. True or false?
Nothing suspicious about that.
No.
For this round, we just answer right now, true or false?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say true.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards...
Unless you made up some tiny little part of it.
That's what I'm trying to think of. But I think for the majority, it does seem legit. Like, I think it's true as well.
Yeah. For the majority, it was true. But I did make up stuff.
Oh, well.
Guess I'm wrong, then.
Was the whole dragon part made up?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end there, what really happens is he's going around and he goes to a tavern where the tavern wench starts falling in love with him.
Okay, that sounds less making sense and more anime.
And so he's in there, and the warrior he likes and the entourage she's a part of, they come in like, hey, barkeep, another round. And there's some wolf boy who's just a dick. And it's just kind of like, hey, tell everyone about that chump you found in the cave who you saved. And everyone's laughing at him. And the boy gets up and like runs out crying. And I'm like, oh, that's a good move.
Sure, how manly you are.
Yeah. There's a lot of other junk. Like the main goddess, she finds out that he's, I don't know, got some kind of superpower, but she didn't tell him about it. And it's like really video game oriented kind of thing. And
there we go. I'm beginning to see. That was a good one. That you did a good job of making up a second part, but because it sounds, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to watch this. But then you say like, no, really, they meet more girls. And I'm like, oh, there's the familiar flavor.
All right. I think we have time for one more. Okay.
Let's do it.
High bike euphorium
Great.
or
Wins.
sound euphorium.
High bike euphorium.
All right.
What's this one about?
Let's just, let's give a good description of this one, Patrick.
Okay. The main character, right off the bat, she's at the end of her middle school years, and she's just gone to band regionals. And so they're all sitting there waiting for the big unfurling of how everyone did, and it comes down. And she's like, oh, yeah, we got the gold. I mean, it's not, like first place, but we did pretty good. And
gold isn't first place?
No.
And what are you, crazy?
Triple platinum's the best. What are you thinking?
Oh.
And so she looks to her side, and some girl's crying, and she's like, "Oh, you must be so happy." And she's like, "I'm so angry. We aren't going to nationals."
Yeah.
And so then they do a little time skip up to modern day, where she's first day of high school.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
She's walking in there. She's a little sad that her breasts are a little small, and she's like, and she's listening to the band, and she's like, wow, they're terrible, and goes to class. And as I've previously described, every Japanese class, the main character sits in the back left corner, right
next
by
to
the windows.
Yep. Second from the back.
What do you know? That's where she is. And she's talking to herself. I don't know why Japanese people can't think in their head without occasionally saying a certain part of a sentence that someone else overhears and comes up and it's like, what did you just say? But in this one, some other girl shows up and is like, hey, let's be friends. And she's like, all right, I guess we aren't going to spend enough time to be friends, so we'll just be friends. And then some other character wants to be friends, and you'll be shocked to know this. They both want to join music club, but that girl's not sure. So they go to the band room, and there's some other girl, and she's, I don't know, she does magic and is a comedian type and kind of does band stuff, I guess. I don't know. I didn't. And then the character from before, Old Cries McGee, she shows up and says, I want to join the band. And then, yeah, so then they go and they're just yammering about nothing and school stuff, and they walk around and they're Oh man, they have like one of the character has a particularly cute little keychain that they talk about for 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Like a full 2 minutes.
What, dude? What keychain is it?
It's one that's like a I don't know many musical instruments, so when I say an alto sax, take that with a grain of. You got to be thinking like, well, it's
What does
kinda
Patrick
like,
think an alto sax is?
All right, take that
Trombone?
and then put like some googly eyes on it, maybe a little smile, and that's what the little keychain thing looked like. So everyone's joining, and then they're like, hey, why don't you join? And she's like, yeah, I guess. And I was like, okay, I don't know why you didn't just do that from the beginning. Kind of wasted some time of ours. So basically, this is like a copy of K-On! Where there's some cute girls. They aren't like often their own band, but you never see any of the other band members. You just see them. They hardly ever practice, although you see it more than K-On! Usually like once a day they'll do something, and then they just sit around talking about nonsense.
And that's the first episode? Just ends with them talk about nonsense?
Yeah. What do you say to High Bike Euphorium?
I'm going to say truth.
Sounds pretty true.
True. Definitely. That's the episode. 100%.
Yeah, that's it. 100%.
Tuba
Look
Coon.
at that picture right there and tell me, does that look like a great quartet right there?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think
We
they're
got
going to go to nationals.
a tuba, a bass,
A different
and a
tuba.
trumpet.
You can make a lot of sounds with that. Now, you two lads, you were in a band, weren't you?
Once upon a time.
Yeah, what was it called?
Tuba.
So which one of you played the tuba?
That was me.
I played the euphonium. It's a smaller tuba.
Well, why don't you post one of the songs, the lyrics to the songs of one of the
We will. The ending theme for this episode is going to be us playing tubas.
Yeah. Way to spoil it, Patrick. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen like in a minute now, so
All
it's
right.
fine.
Well, lads, it's getting late. It's getting hot. Let me just take one more sip of this beer before I head out for a drive.
Signing out. Signing off. It's good to see you, Pat. You came all the way
Yeah.
here from sunny, the other state that's not Oregon.
Idaho.
Crossing time zones and
Yeah,
state boundaries.
Also, we could get this great room that doesn't have any echo. Yeah.
Yep.
We were able to book the.
You want to buy me some carpets to put on the wall? I gladly put
This
them
is
on.
I know a guy who has a few carpets.
Patrick, this is the presidential suite. How dare you?
Whenever I talk to Nathan, he's always just like, "You dad buy any more carpets?"
Now I see the value in them.
Wall-to-wall carpeting, and not on the floor.
Which reminds me, in the previous episode you put up, Laven mentioned a little Anibros brochure, and I noticed someone posted a comment asking for it, and
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you
I also
gotten
noticed the person who posted it was someone I know.
it. How do you know that?
Well, he did some little. I tested those servers, did
No, you
did a little
didn't.
ping, and
No,
found it was you.
no.
Well, suspiciously, Patrick started asking me about it directly after the post came up.
What? When did? No, this is the first time I brought it up.
Ethan, didn't you
Nope.
text me about it?
No.
Now you're just making stuff up.
Well, it was you.
So you're gonna make that brochure?
No. Because it was you. I know it was you.
There's some boy out there who's a deep fan of ours. We have over 400 likes on Facebook.
Over 600.
600 likes on Facebook, and one of them wants a freaking brochure.
You do.
Or was it a newsletter? Whatever it was, I want you to create it and get it to us.
You mean you?
Laven, you don't do enough for this show.
I don't. And I now continue not
You
to.
need to either make the brochure or learn how to make animations and animate every one of Patrick's animes.
Well, I'll probably do neither of those things.
Could you at least go through and all the animes I didn't like, just change the last episode. Just reanimate that thing. That's all I need. I don't need the whole anime, just the very last
We should put up
episode.
torrents of all that series that Patrick talks about, but with an animated version of the first episode. As the first episode.
That's what I'm saying. Just like take our audio and just animate it. So when he says like, and then they go to the classroom, draw like a crappy drawing.